At this time, we're going to have the presentation of colors by Joe Connor. Please stand and salute. At this time, we'll have the Star Spangled Banner by Ross.
Oh, say, can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we hailed at the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight o'er the ramparts we watched were so gallantly streaming, and the rockets' red glare, the bombs bursting in air, gave proof through the night that our flag was still there. Oh, say does that star-spangled banner yet wave o'er the land of the free and the home of the brave?
Mr. Hank Kearns of Forest Lawn Cemetery, William Larson of Troop 284 of the Boy Scouts of America, Nick Sullivan of the Veterans of Foreign Wars, I'd like to thank you for coming to today's memorial service for Memorial Day 2013. We gather today in honor of the brave heroes of our country who have made the ultimate sacrifice. It's because of their resolve that we are able to enjoy the lives we live today, the lives we've grown accustomed to here in America, living free from tyranny and fear. Today we honor our fallen comrades of the United States military in the form of remembrance, and with it comes a deep sense of appreciation for their selflessness, protecting the land of the free and all they've done to ensure it stays that way. Each and every one of us owes a great debt to the courageous men and women who have given their lives to protect ours, while giving back to the extent they deserve is possible today. We should every day. We merely attempt our repayment in the form of remembrance, and we dedicate this day to them. As we go about our daily activities, we should take the opportunity to not only remember the sacrifices of our fallen and mourn their departure, we should celebrate the spirit with which they served and reflect upon their contributions in making America truly the land of the free. It's because of the members of America's armed forces that we've been afforded the privilege of living in the greatest nation in the world. With that title comes a standard of responsibility, a responsibility to defend the homeland at all costs, and a responsibility to help other nations around the world when they need us. The valiant men and women of the United States military who perished while defending our nation understood this responsibility, and it took precedence above all else. Though they were our mothers, fathers, sons, daughters, sisters, and friends in our nation, called, they did not hesitate to answer, knowing that they may not have made it home to us safely. They marched forth into unfamiliar countries, immersing themselves into dangerous situations. They showed great acts of selflessness. For all who were to benefit from their fight, they gave up everything. They had to create better lives for people all over the world, not just here at home, for generations to come. Today we recognize all that they accomplished, their sacrifices, their spirit, the patriotism they encompassed. George William Curtis once said, "A man's country is not a certain area of land or mountains, rivers, and woods, but it is a principle, and patriotism is loyalty to that principle." We take great pride in the fact that our nation has the most patriotic, loyal men and women on earth who are willing to step up to accept the demands that are asked of them. Our heroic service members who have perished in the name of freedom serve as an inspiration to us all. They teach us about bravery, strength, and pride. They are the great protectors of the United States Constitution, and in their memory, we should reflect upon the happiness in our lives, the happiness they've ensured we're free to pursue. Not one of our fallen comrades' lives have been lost in vain. Not one. Too often we take our freedom for granted. We take this day, as we should every day, to come together as an appreciative people, grateful for everything we have. For it is much more than many other countries. We take this day to thank and give credit where credit is due, to those who paid the price for our freedom. We also recognize our military families as a whole, for the sacrifices they make. There is no family stronger than a military family. I want to say thank you. The strength and support you show our service members deserves much credit. While we never will be able to replace the lives of those lost fighting for our nation, we will pay tribute to their memory for generations to come by passing along the lessons they were unknowingly teaching us. Stand up for others who are weaker than ourselves. Stand together. There is great strength in numbers. Do the right thing. Right always overcomes wrong. With our fallen heroes and their families in mind, I ask that before each of you leaves here today, you make a promise that you will never forget, that you will live by the same principles that our fallen stood for. God bless all of our departed heroes, their families, and God bless America. Thank you. At this time, I'd like to introduce Nick Sullivan from the Veterans of Foreign Wars.
Thank you, Kyle. Thank you, Hank. It's an honor to be here. And thanks to the American Legion for being here as well, and the Boy Scout Troop 284 for placing such beautiful crosses and flags. Memorial Day is a holiday. As a veteran of the Iraq War, it has made the day mean much more than just a day off, barbecue with friends, and the official start of summer, even though it's hard to tell it is almost the official start of summer. To me, today means the sacrifice others gave for their country. And I would like to share 3 stories of veterans whose sacrifice will never be forgotten. My inspiration for joining the service in 1998 was my family. My grandfather, Frederick Sullivan, was a World War II Army veteran, and my true hero in life, but he was also a mystery. He was a proud man. He owned his own business, but never really talked much about his time in the Army. That was until we went on a road trip to Canada the summer before I enlisted. I mentioned my interest in the Army and started asking questions. At first, he told me what he told everybody else. What saved his life was getting trench foot and working at the post exchange during the remainder of the war. After a couple 100 miles or so, I asked him again about the war. At the time, being just 18 and never serving in combat, I didn't know that this question was a difficult one to answer. I asked, "Did you storm the beaches at Normandy?" After a long pause, my grandfather said, "Yes." Now, since I was able to get him to talk a little, I figured I could ask him a few more questions. I asked, "How many of your group made it through the war?" He said he was the only one from his platoon to make it off the beach. I could see the look in my grandfather's eye, as he told me this, and I decided it wasn't the right time to ask any more questions. My grandfather passed away in 2010, and he never got a chance to share any more of his stories. My second story is about a buddy of mine while stationed at Fort Bragg. My roommate Jensen Disney and I quickly became good friends. We had the same interests, and were about the same age. We worked together in the same maintenance shop, where he was a welder and I a crane operator. After 9/11, our unit was tasked to deploy to Afghanistan. I raised my hand to go since they needed a wrecker operator, the equivalent of a tow truck driver in the civilian world. They chose Jason over me because not only was he a wrecker operator, but he was also a welder. On February 13th, 2002, Jensen Disney died when a piece of heavy equipment fell on him while working at Bagram Air Base. He was one of the first non-combat related deaths of the Afghanistan War. I, along with others from our unit, went to his hometown of Fallon, Nevada, and participated in his honor guard ceremony. Hearing taps play for someone so young and so close to me was heartbreaking. My last story is that of a man named Steve King, not the writer, the soldier. The first conversation I had with Steve was during my second tour when we were on advanced deployment in Iraq. He was always a gym hound, and since we had plenty of free time, I asked for his advice, and he helped me pump a little iron. We worked together a few times while on deployment, but never really hung out a lot. He was a quiet guy, but one of those guys that seemed to be on the right track. I left the Army after my second tour in Iraq, but kept in touch with as many of my comrades as I could find on Facebook. A few years later, I was talking to one of my fellow soldiers, and she told me that King had committed suicide. The deployments and his experiences in Iraq were too much for him to bear, and he felt though he just couldn't fit in anymore. Hearing of his suicide came as quite a shock to me. Some may say that these three guys, and others like them, were heroes. If you ask them, they would say they were just doing their job. Each sacrificed in a different way, but all should never be forgotten. Today we honor that sacrifice for our country. If you ask any service, man or woman, one thing a civilian could do for a veteran, it would be to not forget about them. So please, remember their sacrifices as you enjoy your barbecue with your friends and your extra long weekend. Remember them as you wakeboard at the river, go camping in the woods, or box up your winter wardrobe for your summer one. And remember that we get to enjoy this day, this Memorial Day, because of the sacrifices of so many for the country we love. Thank you.
Ladies and gentlemen, at this time, we will have Echoing Taps by Pete Kirkman and Greg Lyon. At this time, we will retire the colors. This time, we'll have America the Beautiful by Mr. Ross Houck.
Oh, beautiful for spacious skies, for amber waves of grain, for purple mountains' majesty, above the fruited plain. America, America, God shed his grace on thee, and crown thy good with brotherhood, from sea to shining sea. God bless America, land that I love. Stand beside her and guide her through the night with a light from above. From the mountains to the prairies, to the oceans white with foam. God bless America, my home, sweet home. God bless America, my home, sweet home.
Ladies and gentlemen, at this time, that concludes our ceremony. Thank you.